brought to you by Kellogg's. Kellogg's cereals, the best to you each morning. From Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now, live from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now the brilliant young comedian who is starring in the brilliant musical comedy, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and who had the great pleasure of performing for the astronauts and meeting them backstage, Mr. Robert Morse.
And I'd like to introduce to you, needs no introduction, someone that wrote some wonderful stories on Mr. Glenn while he was in New York. Fine writer, it's Dorothy Kilgallen.
Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome back from sun-drenched California, and you'll be able to see the tan, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Thank you, Dorothy. I was drenched all right, but it wasn't by the sun. Great to have you, Bob, on the show. That's a wonderful show he's in. And here's our wonderful panel moderator, who, as you know, is also a great news analyst and is right now doing 2 superb documentaries on the life of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Here's John Charles Daly.
Bennett said more nice things about me in those few seconds than he has in 10 years. I recommend a vacation for Bennett every other week. Or oftener. Nice to have you, if I may say so also, Mr. Morse.
Thank you.
I hope you can now teach us how to succeed in a panel without really trying. We have some very interesting occupations tonight. I think the panel's going to have an interesting and perhaps a slightly difficult time. We'll also have a famous mystery challenger before my colleagues on the panel a little bit later in the program, and we'll meet our first challenger. And now let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Right there. T.J. O'Malley, right there. May I ask a question?
Yes, sir?
Are you called T.J. by your colleagues?
Yes.
T.J.? Because I noticed you signed that T.J. just as I'd signed my first name. You know? Where are you from, Mr. O'Malley?
Montclair, New Jersey.
Oh, is that where you were born? What?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. May I present our panel, Mr. O'Malley?
How do you do?
And will you join me over here now, please? Do you know how we keep score on What's My Line, Mr. O'Malley?
No, but you can teach me.
All right, it's very simple. Every time you can give the panel properly a no answer to a question they ask, we flip one of these cards, 10 flips, and you've won the game.
Let's try it.
Okay, let's try it. Fine. But first of all, let's be sure that the folks at home and the folks in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mr. O'Malley is salaried and deals in a service, and let's begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. O'Malley, you look like a very distinguished gentleman. Do you by any chance work for the government?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Morse.
Do you work for the clergy or anything like that? No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Anything like that. Mr. O'Malley, would you consider yourself an executive of any kind?
The service gives. Yes.
Do you work indoors some of the time?
Yes.
Do you also work outdoors?
Yes.
Or go out of doors in your work?
Yes.
Can you work at various hours of the day or night?
Yes.
And do you? I asked that because you didn't know how we scored this show, and I figured maybe you were busy Sunday nights and not watching it.
Well, the answer is really that our guest does work odd hours of the day.
Odd hours.
Mm-hmm.
Do you also go
Sometimes.
from place to place?
Would you please repeat?
Do you go from place to place? Do you travel in your work?
No.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. O'Malley, just to settle something in my own mind, can I rule out the possibility that you are any relation of the O'Malley who was hated by everybody in Brooklyn for moving the Dodgers away from Brooklyn? No relative?
No, he has money.
Can I also rule out, Mr. O'Malley, the entire exploit, the superb exploit of the orbiting of Colonel Glenn? Can we rule out the fact that you had anything whatever to do with this, with
No.
this feat?
No, that's 4 down and
Can't
6
rule
to
it
go,
out.
Miss Franklin. There's
You
a
can't
question.
rule that out.
You can't rule
We
that.
can't rule that out.
No.
May we rule out that you had anything to do with the technical operation of Project Mercury?
No.
That's 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Morse.
Well, this service was beneficial, do you think, to the United States of America? In any way?
Yes.
It will benefit mankind, you feel?
Yes.
Is this service... Will I be someday able to take this service? Maybe. Maybe? Would it help me?
Mr. O'Malley turned and asked me, do you think he's in shape? I would say here, Robert, I'm going to give you a no, because I don't think
Never?
that with, you know, all of taking into account all of the training that you've had and the background that you have, that you would be equipped even with a crash course in time to be a
I'm
participant.
not physically well enough,
No, physically now you're well enough, but there'd be a lot of things you'd have to know that I think you have not needed to learn in your interests. Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. O'Malley, are you really Mr. O'Malley and not Dr. O'Malley?
Mr. O'Malley.
Mr. O'Malley, all right. Does your work take you... I know you said you work in one place. Is that place Cape Canaveral?
Yes.
But you're indoors at Cape Canaveral.
Sometimes, and outdoors sometimes. That's been elicited.
Do you have anything to do with the complicated machinery of a flight into
Yes.
space? Do you ever get to talk to the astronauts?
Occasionally.
Are you working when they're up there?
No.
That's 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. O'Malley, have you got anything to do with them while they are being put into the capsule or when they're being taken out of the capsule?
I would say yes and no here. Yes, there's a relationship, certainly.
Do you have anything to do with the capsule itself in which
No.
the astronaut is
8
kept?
down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you have anything to do either with the countdown or the training of the astronauts?
That's 2 questions in one.
No, just say yes.
Yes.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Countdown.
Do you have anything to do with the countdown?
Yes.
Did you count them down?
Yes.
Do you know that I was doing it with you all the way?
Thank you.
It was the most exciting countdown in history. I don't know what we term the gentleman that does the countdown.
Well, actually, I'll throw the cards thing. I think Arlene substantively has got it. Mr. O'Malley is the head of the launch team and was the head of the launch team for astronaut John Glenn. He is the man that... To get all of the facts straight, Mr. O'Malley is with General Dynamics Corporation.
That's correct.
And General Dynamics Corporation is responsible for the Atlas booster, which would be called a missile in another relationship, right?
Called a missile?
It's the big power plant that puts the capsule upstairs, and as the head of the launching team, he has 100 men working in it. But he is the one who hits that button that says go, and it must be a great, great thrill for all things.
Boy, everybody was certainly counting. If one time everybody was doing the same thing you were doing.
Well, let me say, I think I had a moment just before the program to exchange a few words with Mr. O'Malley and said then that the whole country is just fascinated with the complete excellence of the man, Colonel John Glenn, Jr. But he has gone out of his way so many times in the past few days to say that his achievement in being the first manned orbital, manned orbit. Well, now let me start that. Well, there I was on a Sunday morning, being the first man in orbital flight in a manned space vehicle. He's pointed out so many times that it never would have happened except for the dedication of people like Mr. O'Malley and the 100 men who work under him and the thousands of others who are associated with it. So, if I may again offer congratulations, this time in your person, sir, and envy you for the wonderfully exciting work that you have to do.
John, it was a team effort all the way.
Oh, got it. A great team, sir. A great team. Thanks for being with us. Good to see you. And now let's meet our second contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Elizabeth Orchard, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs. Orchard?
Mrs.
Mrs. Orchard. Where are you from, Mrs. Orchard?
Texarkana on the Texas side.
Texarkana on the Texas side. So you're a Texan man.
Yes.
Good. Nice to have you with us. May I present our panel, Mrs. Orchard? Will you join me over here? Do you know how we keep score, Mrs. Orchard?
Yes, Mr. Bennett.
Fine. In that event, we'll let the folks at home and the audience in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Orchard is salaried and deals in a product. And we'll begin the general questioning with Bennett Cerf. I think it's appropriate.
Mrs. Orchard, ma'am, may I say it's a peach orchard.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Is this product, Mrs. Orchard, something that Texas is famous for?
Yes.
Would you say that it would be more apt to be found in Texas than many other states in the Union?
Yes.
Is it something that is now or ever has been alive, Mrs.
Yes.
Small puffer.
No.
Sorry, we had to revise that. That's one down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
It's never been alive, huh? Does this product grow?
Yes.
Does it grow in the soil?
Basically.
Basically, yes.
Did you say basically?
Basically, in other words,
Is it a product that might ever come eventually to the home?
Yes.
To the table?
Yes.
Is it a product that is served as part of a meal?
Sometimes.
Would it be served with the main course?
Sometimes.
Texas.
Oh, Arlene.
You mean you can think of it? I can't think of anything but a hush puppy.
I can think of it.
Is it in the grain class rather than vegetable?
No.
that makes it 2 down and 8 to go. Mr. Morse.
Is it a something that could, in its full form, something that could walk like an animal? Texas Longhorns.
No.
No.
Alive.
Oh,
Never had
oh.
that.
Not alive.
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mrs. Orchard, is it nuts?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I know Texas is famous for pecans.
Right.
They're right.
That's right. Actually, Mrs. Orchard has a pecan ranch. Now, they grow on bushes.
On trees.
Trees? How tall are the trees?
Pecan orchard, huh?
That's
No,
right.
Pecan orchard, yeah.
You ought to have a little girl named Pecan, huh?
Mrs. Orchard, do you ever sugar these pecans? Do you ever?
Yes, we do.
Well, if you'd like to send the serfs a box of them, Mrs. Orchard, we're very receptive.
Nuts to the nutty. No, I shouldn't say that. That shouldn't be done. Well, thank you very much. I think the fact that you were from the Texas side of Texarkana gave them too much of a clue right away. But we did have them puzzled for a bit. And thank you for being our guest. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our sponsor. And now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which the panel is always blindfolded. And are all blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in case of our mystery challenger, you ask one question at a time in turn, moving clockwise, and let's begin with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you a performer in show business?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf.
Are you, would you be considered by even your worst enemies to be very, very lovely looking?
Yes, Miss Francis.
Are you performing at the present time in the Broadway Theater?
Yes.
Mr. Morse.
Are you primarily a musical comedy, well, a singer, dancer, rather than a straight actor?
No.
Actress, excuse me.
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Straight actress. Are you British?
Yes and no.
You have been. Is that it?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf.
Would you possibly be playing in a play that was written by Mr. Garson Kanan?
Yes.
Are you Miss Olivia de Havilland?
Yeah. Now, that's a bit of a disappointment. It would be a joy to have you with us for the rest of the night.
I didn't know Mr. Haviland's voice because we're publishing her book.
Oh, that's right, Bennett.
Yes.
Bennett is...
Yes, I mean.
Pretty soon I expect to see the telephone book come out with Random House on it. But we were a little bit unlucky. I was rather hoping that they would get it more involved with all of your other
I was
activities.
hoping they would too, but there you are.
movie.
They're just too bright for words.
I would like to say, Mr. Havilland, that I was present at the opening performance of your play called A Gift of Time, and that you were lovely, and that it is a beautiful, moving, and touching play, and my congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Co-star is Henry Fonda.
Henry Fonda.
Yes, indeed, and isn't he wonderful?
It's the most brilliant performance he's ever given, I think.
I think so, too. Everybody does.
Yes.
It's a heartbreaking play, but a beautiful one.
Yes, it's beautiful. That's what everybody says. That's the word they use.
Well, actually, as I think probably most of you know, Miss de Havilland is really Mrs. Pierre Galland. And you are living in Paris a good deal.
I'm living in New York City at the moment.
No, but are you going to be in Paris half the time and New York the rest of the time, do you think?
Well, we've just got to see how long this play is going to run. Isn't
Well,
that right?
I will hope that the play runs forever, if that means you can
Thank
stay
you.
in New York. Thank
That's
you
very
very much.
kind of you.
Very nice
Thank
to
you.
have you. And we'll have another contestant after this word from our alternate. And now let's meet another contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Melba Liston. That's right? Is it Miss or Mrs. Liston?
Miss.
Miss Liston, and where are you from, Miss Liston?
New York.
From New York. Then I dare say that these faces are all familiar to you.
Quite.
Miss Liston, may I present our panel? Now, will you join me over here, please? Tell me, do you know how we keep score on What's My Line, Miss Liston? Fine. In that event, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. Miss Liston is self-employed and deals in a service. And we'll begin the general questioning with Bob Morse.
The service that you do, Miss Liston, would it be of any benefit to us on the panel at any time? Would we call on you for your service?
You mean of direct benefit in terms
Well,
of
would we
improving-
ever Would the whole audience call on Miss Liston? All right, would any of us call? Would I be apt to look in the yellow pages to call on you in the service, for a service?
Not look in the yellow pages, no. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
John, I must disqualify myself. I know Miss Liston very well.
All righty, fine. Mr. Cerf?
Miss Liston, may I presume that you're not related to the heavyweight contender for the championship?
Oh, no.
You're not. I thought it was.
Yes, Miss Liston is not related to Sonny Liston, no. How's that?
Miss Liston, since Dorothy knows you so well, and since I know her nocturnal habits, have you got anything to do with dancing, or the twist, or hot jazz?
With dancing, the twist, or hot jazz? Well, I would say, we could say yes, don't you think?
Yes.
Would it be the jazz category?
Yes.
Are you yourself responsible for creating some of this music?
Yes.
Are you a member of one of the big dance orchestras, or a soloist in
Dance
sang?
orchestra.
Well, what's the matter with a dance orchestra?
No, that's hard, Bennett.
A combo.
Actually, Bennett, you've asked a double question. You said, are you a member of a group, or are you a soloist? Now, if you want to break this down and ask one or the other, we'd be very happy to...
Are you a soloist?
Yes.
Well,
Sometimes.
Sometimes, that's right.
Well, what more is there to ask?
Plenty.
What's there more? Do you appear in one of the places that is specializing in the twist these days?
No.
No. We got that one out. That's fine. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Bennett's got twist on the mind. Miss Liston, do you play a musical instrument?
Yes.
Is it a wind instrument?
Yes.
Do you play the trombone?
Yes.
Yes?
That's it. Yes, Miss
John,
Dorothy.
I hated to giggle at Bennett and interrupt him, but it's so funny because he doesn't quite make the distinction between jazz band or hot jazz and twist music or dance music. And I must explain that when Miss Liston plays, you listen. You don't dance. You listen, yes. You don't dance. She's been with Dizzy Gillespie, for heaven's sakes, and Quincy Jones and bands like that.
Who's Quincy Jones?
Forget it, Bennett.
No, Bennett's just teasing him, Miss Liston. He knows about Quincy Jones and Dizzy Gillespie. But Bennett's just getting a small lesson, you see, in the intricacies and special character of jazz. But now, Miss Liston is a jazz trombonist. And I would think, I must admit, I rank with Bennett. I'm not very tutored in these affairs. Isn't it rare for a woman to play the trombone?
Yes.
It is especially as a great artist. Mm-hmm.
So many years, many in school take it, but they don't follow through.
Did you learn, now this may be a silly question, and forgive me if it is, but did you by any chance learn to play the trombone initially in a school band or something like that?
Yes.
Is that where you started on it? And then decided to take it up?
Yes.
You were one of those marching bands?
Yes.
This is great. I never could figure out how they get that. There's this long trombone and you're marching up and down the street. I'll have to try it someday.
Don't do that.
You don't think I ought to try it? All righty, fine. Well, thank you very much for being our guest. Sorry we didn't give him a little more trouble, but it's nice to have you with us. Good night. I think that we should make this announcement. Dorothy Kilgallen is going to hold classes for Daly and Cerf this coming week on American jazz. Anybody who'd like to come, you better not. It's going to be a rough class. And thank you very much, Miss Arlene Francis, for being here, and good night.
Thank you, and I just want to tell the University of Utah to look out. I'll be there tomorrow. And good night, Bobby Morse. It was lovely to have such a talented fellow with us.
Well, I was very pleased to be here. And good night, Miss Kilgallen.
Good night, Bobby. Please come again. And Bennett, never mind about my nocturnal habits. Good night.
Good night to Phyllis and Ted and Helen Geisel and La Jolla and Kitty in Palm Springs and you, John Daly, on 53rd Street, New York.
Good night, Bennett. Actually, the University of Utah is very lucky. Arlene's going to be in Salt Lake City for a full week and is really excited about going to the Tabernacle, which, of course, is a wonderful
I
thing to
look
do.
forward to it.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Codman. This is Johnny Olson speaking.